Hey, and welcome to the Go the Distance podcast series. My name is Sadie, and you can find my social media links at milehighradio.com/go-the-distance. Thank you to Lynn Burnett and Mile High Radio for making all of this possible. Please check out my previous episodes on shows.pippa.io/go-the-distance. And today's episode is about grace. Grace is important when we consider how we handle ourselves. We have a choice in how we react to situations that upset us, and when we react with grace, it becomes easier to problem solve and to communicate with the person we are interacting with. According to dictionary.com, grace is defined as a lot of different things, but there's 7 that I took from the first part of it. So the first one is elegance or beauty of form, manner, motion, or action. So the example that they give is, we watched her skate with effortless grace across the ice. So you can be graceful in how you move and how you react. For myself, I have to remember to be graceful, to be honest, when I'm doing the dishes, because sometimes I'm a little bit rough and I'm like clanging and banging around the kitchen. And I'm like, oh yeah, I could like gently close the cupboard door instead of like slamming it. Or, oh yeah, I could like put this plate on top of the other plate a little bit more gently so it doesn't slam and possibly break. Number 2 says a pleasing or attractive quality or endowment. The example they give is, he lacks the manly graces. So that's just how you kind of carry yourself and how you present yourself to people. If you speak with grace and you act with grace, then you'll have graceful qualities that are pleasing and attractive. The third example they have is favor or goodwill. And some synonyms are kindness, kindliness, love, and I don't know what that word is. Anyways, so just in how you choose to react to people, if somebody says something to you and you react with grace, then you have good, graceful favor and goodwill. Number 4 says a manifestation of favor, especially by a superior. And the example they give is that it was only through the dean's grace that I was not expelled from school. So that's when people choose to have a graceful reaction to your situation in a way that benefits the person who is requiring the grace. The 5th definition for grace is mercy, clemency, and pardon. He was saved by an act of grace from the governor, so that one's pretty similar to the previous one. Number 6, favor shown in granting a delay or temporary immunity. That one's pretty self-explanatory. And then number 7, an allowance of time after a debt or bill has become payable. So as you can see, grace is defined in a lot of different ways, and grace can mean a lot of different things in a variety of situations. You can walk with grace, so when you take steps, they can be light and quiet and soft, or you can walk without grace and you can stomp your feet and make a lot of noise and that kind of thing. You can also fall with grace. So an example of this is when I was practicing skating, I would kind of just like, if I fall a lot, so I'd just like cross my legs and kind of like sit down, and instead of like smashing my knees or my butt on the ice, I just kind of sit myself down when I knew I was losing my balance, and then I didn't get hurt and I'm able to stand up and keep skating without getting a big bruise. You can talk with grace, as I mentioned before. If you choose your words carefully and choose to have kindness in your voice, then you'll show grace. You can react with grace by taking a deep breath and choosing not to blurt out the first thing that comes into your mind, and give people that time where you reflect and consider their emotions and their feelings with what you're about to say. You can also just think with grace. So when you're interpreting a situation or judging a situation inside your head as it's happening, you can, instead of thinking negatively, you could think with grace and try to find the positive and try to be kind in your thoughts, because your words will reflect your thoughts. And so if your thoughts are negative, then your words will be negative. But if your thoughts are graceful and kind, then your words will be graceful and kind. So grace leads to peace and happiness inside yourself and allows you to realize that grace is a necessary component to your well-being. If you treat people with grace, we can focus on our pathway peacefully and maintain the plan that God has for us. When we act with grace, we leave people with their dignity intact, and their self-worth and their self-esteem remains whole. If you choose not to use grace, if you choose to be unkind and unthoughtful and these kinds of things, the people receiving the message that you're giving are not going to feel very good about themselves. And it's important for us to maintain that level of respect, because if someone were to speak to us that way, we would feel the same thing. So by choosing to give out grace, you'll get more grace in return. Self-esteem and self-worth are integral to maintaining positive mental health and physical health. If you're able to maintain your self-esteem to where you feel good about yourself and you have positive thoughts about yourself, your physical health will also reflect that, because stress has a really huge impact on your body and it becomes symptomatic in your body. If you are stressed out, your body can't really tell you exactly why you're stressed out or what's going on, but it can manifest itself into symptoms like headaches, tiredness, depression, anxiety, pain, all kinds of things, weaken immune system. And by maintaining your self-worth and your self-esteem, you're maintaining your health, because when you're healthy, you will be a lot more successful and you'll be a lot more able to meet those goals and wishes that you have for yourself. So I was reading from, I have a devotional Bible, and I was looking up examples of grace before and as I was writing this episode. And it talked about how a chandelier is designed to reflect the light of the sun. It takes a small ray of light and reflects many sparkling rainbows into a room. So when we share our grace in the same way the chandelier shares its light around the room, you can see that it only takes a small ray of light to light up the darkness. And with grace, we can light our darkness and the darkness of others. And all it takes is one tiny little bit of light to reflect into the room, and it starts to light up the darkness. And the same thing is true for each other. When we show that tiny little bit of grace, it sort of lightens the mood a little bit, or it brings a little bit of joy or happiness into the situation that might have previously been tense or uncomfortable. Today, life is very stressful, and we don't always take things with grace, or my mom used to say it as a grain of salt. But every day we need to make a conscious effort to have a good day, good thoughts, and good feelings. I heard a story about a man who was crippled and ended up in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. He was faced with a decision every morning when he woke up. He had to choose if he was going to have a good day or a bad day, and every day he chose to have a good day. So I encourage you to, every day when you open your eyes, you can choose to be graceful, and that will ensure that you have a good day. You can let grace guide your steps and take the steps you take and every move that you make. There's a song called 99% Soul by Maddie Mullins, and it talks about trusting grace to guide your feet. It's a really great song, and I recommend that you take a listen to it. You can find it on, I have it on Google Play as well as YouTube. You could probably get it on iTunes and everything like that too, and Spotify. So my mom says that if you dress, act, and speak in a graceful fashion, others will see that you have something they desire. They will want to change their behaviors to keep a hold of positive communication. By simply being aware of how you are being perceived by others, you may inspire others to look for the positives and become more graceful. So the way that you present yourself has an impact on how you're perceived by others, and how you're perceived by others has an impact on how they're going to react to you. And the way they react to you will in turn affect the way that you react to them. So it's kind of like a domino effect in a positive way. So as you take these little steps towards presenting yourself and perceiving yourself and others with grace and with kindness, it becomes easier and easier to continue on that path of kindness and of grace. So when you take time to rest and reflect before you react, it gives people a much-deserved grace period. By choosing to only react once you have found grace, again, you'll be respecting the other's self-esteem. It may take a day, a week, a month, or a year to find the grace that you need to face the problem. But by waiting and reflecting, you are presenting yourself as a much more graceful person and in a much more positive way to other people. When you react in a way that shows anger and frustration, that's kind of the perception that people have of you, and it becomes your identity. And there's nothing wrong with taking, like I said, a day, a week, a month, a year to kind of process what happened and allow yourself that time to figure it out for yourself and figure out the positive in the situation. And eventually you might even realize that you don't even want to deal with it at all, because that grace period has provided you with a better understanding of the situation. Once you have a better understanding of the situation, you might be seeing it from the other person's perspective, where you don't even feel angry or upset with that person any longer, because you can see why they reacted the way that you did. Now, it's always good to talk about your feelings and let people know, when this happened, I felt this way, because that way that person knows next time, oh, well, I don't want people to be feeling that way, so I need to try to act a little bit differently when I have this happen or when this situation comes up. As a parent, when your child observes you acting with grace, they're building positive self-esteem and positive relationship skills. As a parent, you're the mentor and the guide for your children, and what we do and how we act will become the way that they act and react. And so I'm not a parent yet, but when I am, I want to set my children up for success. And I've learned that the best way to do this is to show them. So if I am frustrated with my children and I'm feeling upset with the choices that they made, or disappointed or frustrated, by choosing to wait to deal with the situation and just telling them, hey, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm really upset with what has happened here, and I need some time to think. You're building those skills for your child already, because children are still developing their neural pathways in their brain, and everything that a child experiences creates a neural pathway, especially up until the age of 6. So by creating these positive neural pathways for how to deal with situations and how to react to misdoings from others and this type of thing, you're allowing your child to have a better way of processing than maybe what you grew up with or how you generally act or react. And when you think about the way that it's perceived, that can really change the way you want to handle the situation. I know for myself, when I was young, like, I did some things and I got in trouble and it was much deserved, but I didn't like the feeling of being yelled at. And so I don't like to yell when I'm dealing with problems and situations. I am a teacher, so I let my students know, hey, this is making me feel frustrated and I'm going to go take a break. I'll come back when I'm ready to talk to you guys about whatever the problem is. And when you think about how you want your children to act, showing them is so much more important than just telling them, because we learn by observation and by seeing how things work out. And if your child is a part of that, and so you're dealing with a problem between you and your child, then you're able to let them experience positive communication and positive problem-solving skills. When children are a part of the situation and they feel it, they're able to learn from it because it's associated with one of our senses. I had a teacher who said once, first you feel and then you learn. So the first time a child crosses the road by themselves, they go to step off the curb and there's a car coming, and they step back onto the curb and they get this feeling inside them of fear, and that's a really big learning experience for them because they actually felt it, they actually experienced it, and they were a part of it. And when they are a part of something positive, they feel good in the situation, that's going to create a much better situation for them when in the future, when the situation comes up with friends, peers, coworkers, teachers, these kinds of things. The way that you teach them how to handle it will be how they handle it with others as well. Everything kind of translates through. So by having grace and by having time to think before we react and choosing our words carefully, we can show others how important it is to be a part of the solution in a positive way, and we can show them how much better it feels when we do that. Thank you very much for tuning in and being a part of this podcast. Again, you can find my social media links at milehighradio.com/go-the-distance. And you can find all my episodes on demand at shows.pippa.io/go-the-distance. Remember, go the distance because life doesn't stand still.